Hey guys, so today we are going to answer a subscriber question, and the question in question is, Frederick, will there ever be a programming language that is completely obsolete? So let's get into it. Well, this is a bit of a definition question now, isn't it? Because the root of this question is basically based on the same sort of assumption that I think that works in the opposite direction for a lot of people who ask, oh, is this going to make this thing obsolete? So let us talk a little bit about, first and foremost, what does obsolete actually mean? Well, if we're talking about that, is there ever going to be a programming language that is so completely irrelevant that no one uses it? Well, it's hard to say exactly whether or not that actually happens, because I don't have the numbers for every single programming language that has ever been invented and how many people are actually using it. I don't think anybody has those exact numbers, but maybe somebody does, because that definition is very strict. Okay, so no one uses it whatsoever. But what I'd like to think about is on kind of the same wavelength as I've been in a few of my videos, and it's not so far. Well, you see, it's not really all that useful to consider the extreme case. And what do I mean by the extreme case? Well, it's the same thing I've said when people ask me about these different tools, and they ask me questions, like very concrete questions, which are, and let's be honest here, there's quite a lot of people out there on the internet and people who are working in programming who will never give you a straight answer because of one fundamental thing, and that is the corner case. And the corner case is that there is always a possibility, there's always a reason, like some small microscopic amount of doubt or possibility that something is going to be possible, even though it's not the common case. An example is that people ask me, oh, should I learn this language or that language? And I go, well, no, you should probably learn that language. And then somebody from whatever language comes in and says, oh, but you can do that in this language. And I go, yeah, it is possible to do it, but almost nobody does it. It has no practical relevancy whatsoever. You're basically just stating that in a extreme corner case scenario, this is useful, and that's not important for the most part, unless there is some once again, if you have a corner case situation, then the corner case might be useful to you. And let's tie that back into being obsolete again, because all right, what does it matter if something is never used? I think that we will widen that, and we will say, okay, if something is obsolete, I will define that for myself here and for us as something not having basically any relevancy in the workforce. And that has pretty much already happened. There's quite a few languages where there are people who are using it, but they're really only using it because of circumstances. And a language, in my definition, has truly died, quote unquote, when there is no adoption rate to it. In other words, there are no new projects starting up with it. There are no people trying to actively learn it in order to, it's not part of the natural ecosystem. There are to give you one concrete example, which this is of course going to come back and bite me in the ass now, but I'm going to say it nonetheless, is say COBOL. Now COBOL is a fairly old language, and although it has some work relevancy, there are organizations who are using COBOL. It is not something that is considered to be, it's not a normal thing to see on a programmer's CV. It depends, of course, on the programmer. I mean, if you've been around for a while, it might be the case. But new programmers are not really learning that in the same extent as they are learning, say, Java, Python, JavaScript, PHP even. And so COBOL, and I mean, there are quite a few companies who are migrating from COBOL. I'm not saying that COBOL is a bad language. I'm simply stating that newer and better things are coming out, and this popularity thing is actually a thing. And the thing is that popularity has quite a lot of sway even in this industry. So if we once again consider, will something ever be completely obsolete? Well, with that definition, absolutely. There will be languages who are obsolete. But on the plus side, we can turn that and say, Well, if something is becoming obsolete, most likely it's becoming obsolete because something else, well, newer and better, I hope better. New is not always better, but newer and better will come along and provide us with new opportunities, because that's kind of the thing. And that's why I really think it's kind of weird sometimes that people have this emotional attachment to some programming languages and certain ways of doing things. Guys, this is a scientific field. There's an evolution. Things are progressing. Things are like, that's the whole deal with this innovation. That's the whole idea, that things will come around, you will learn them, you benefit from it at that point in time, and then we will build on top of the learnings we got from that thing, and then the next thing comes along, and then the next thing, and so forth and so forth and so forth. And personally, I think that we will all be a lot happier if we kind of embrace that. Now, I'm not saying that you should jump on the bandwagon with every new thing that comes out. I'm just stating and trying to be as objective as possible, that if something comes around that improves on something else, I don't think there's a reason to fight that. If you see benefits to this thing, then move towards it. Don't jump on every single little thing and every trend, but if something comes around, becomes a new great standard that we all can align on, and that brings us closer to the end goal, whichever end goal we have, if there even is one, then I think we should embrace that instead of going on the forums and being upset or trying to justify an old way of working. So what I want you to take away from this is that when it comes to being completely obsolete, depending on your definition, yes, no. I don't think that we will ever get to a point where nothing is there's no one at all that is using something. But I definitely think that there are more than a few languages today that have pretty much no work relevancy. Have a great day.